Yes, Spurs fans, welcome back to the Irish Hotspur. This is going to be your North London Derby Fallout fan show. I think that's probably the best way to call it, really, because it really has been a fallout. I sort of just went into the game just hoping that we give a competitive performance. I wasn't under any illusion that we would win this game. I was kind of praying that maybe we could play well enough for a point. I just wanted to see us basically not be embarrassed, but I felt like that wasn't achieved. I think we actually ended up falling below those, in my opinion, pretty low expectations going into this game. And we're going to hear from other people. Dave and I, of course, tried to put up the best of faces after the game. Even during the watch along, it felt like we were in a similar position to what we've been in years before. We were almost like, just turn it off at this stage. But we muscled through, we powered through, and of course, gave our thoughts after the game on the watch along, and then also put out a Twitter reacts for you guys to enjoy, maybe to sort of have some humor from it, but also just see where the other people around the Spurs universe are. And that's what also this fan show is for. But we have a lot of people in the back end. If you are a fan show member, please do come on. We'd love to have you join the discussion. And I imagine there's going to be a ton of different opinions on this. There are definitely going to be people who are on the same page, and there are going to be some people who might not be on the same page. But as always, we're always just trying to figure out this basket case of a club and the situation. Before I bring some of the people in the comments in here, Dave, I mean, yeah, just have to, face the fallout, really.
Yeah, look, it's one of them. To be honest with you, the sad thing is that we're here yet again under another manager. We've been here far too often. I just think, and especially off the back of the North London Derby, it's sort of like, a lot of fans have got off. You're starting to see a lot more Frank out and stuff like that. And it'd just be interesting to see and hear people and see where they're at personally. I think, look, I'm not at Frank out yet. I think I'm going to give him another little while to sort of see what he can do. But like I've said all along, I have aired my concerns about, the likes of the forward play, and all that sort of stuff where I think, Frank massively needs to improve if he wants to sort of stay on. Because I'm not being funny, but you're already seeing reports come out that some of the players maybe aren't taken on board. There's a bit of concern inside the club. And look, whether there's any sort of anything to it or not, the reality is when this started happening under other managers, it wasn't too long after that when that sort of stuff started coming out. Ultimately, we ended up changing managers. So yeah. I think the next couple of games under Thomas Frank, I think is absolutely critical, moving forward, like trying to beat Fulham, trying to beat Brentford when they're coming up. Wednesday night, I think most level-headed people will go in. It's a monumental task. Yeah. I think all of us are going in fearing the worst. But in general, I think we are sort of approaching crunch time. I know not everyone's going to sort of agree with that, but, this is what these shows are here for. Come on and have your say.
Emotions are always high, too, especially after the derbies, really. Like, in these sort of games, there's already that intensity, that expectation. And like I said, you just don't really want to be embarrassed in games like this when it's especially a big North London derby or any real derby in general. And of course, it just kind of went out in the worst possible way, really. So there's just going to be a ton of different emotions and fallout from it. And like you say there, I think there's definitely going to be some angst and expectation, in the weeks ahead. Just going to bring some people in here that are in the comments. Please, everybody, smash the like button as you come in. If you want to stop the show at any point, feel free to ask a question in the live chat. And if you do want to support the channel, you're welcome to become a member. We have K30 Tuesday, and I've seen a lot of things and had a lot of emotions in my life of supporting Spurs. But only yesterday did I feel something that I thought would never happen. I felt shame and embarrassment. Yeah. Like I said, K32, I knew they're very good. I know that they're going to be a tough team to beat. I just wanted us to sort of give a competitive performance where I felt like, the better team won, but at least we showed, some positive signs that we're sort of on the right trajectory. And don't know if I can say that really after that performance. Really left me with more questions really than answers. Chris is in the house. We're going to be talking to him later. Big up to Chris. Good to see him continuing the streak of coming on with us and having chats with us. Moondog is in here as well, saying we were embarrassing. Completely agree. Chris, 47-month member. Absolutely crazy, sir. Saying, evening, lads. I wish I could be positive, but what a gutless, spineless performance. I don't care what anyone says. It's on Frank as well as the players. I think the majority of people would agree with you that no one really is hiding from that sort of thing, Chris. Like, you can't really say, oh, one person gets exempt, the other one doesn't, type of thing. Everybody sort of has their heads in shame. And there's going to be huge questions over the manager after a performance like that, especially when so many people played so poorly. Tartan Spurs thought we'd kick on after the Europa win. Feels like we were back in the mud. Pressure is fully on the club, the players, and Frank. Big up Dave and Jack, absolutely right. Tartan Spurs, big up to you in Scotland. Solely 1882s in the house. Logan THFC, good to see you. King Huddle saying Frank got it wrong. Should have been a 3-5-2 with Xavi in the 10 to help in the midfield and ball progression up front with Kolomwani and Kudus and not Richie. Richie, that might be though one of the greatest ever, North London derby goals, I will admit. And Poro at right wing back we still lose though, but Frank's decisions were poor. I did think about maybe whether he should have just gone with an extra person in midfield instead of maybe going with someone like a Noda on the wing in that game. Drop kick your teachers in here complaining about us being late. It got a little spicy in the back end drop kicks, and we were just talking to people as well, having a little chat. Welcome to join us if you would like at any stage, artist. And then DB saying, evening all, good job earlier, Dave. Accounts for me. But you have on in the background. He also says, I literally went straight to bed after the game like a child. I just couldn't take how bad we were. But we have to now and give him time. I think that's pretty fair. There, DB. Wayne Bonner's in here. Really good to see you, Wayne Bonner. Good to see Eugene. We'll be speaking to him later as well. Scotty Hynum. And making sure I'm not missing anybody. The one and only Martin Knightsbridge. Good to see you, Martin. Hopefully everything's all right with you, sir. Outside of Spurs at the minute. And then big up to David Hall.
Big up, Martin. Good to see you, my man. You're sorry, Jacko?
Start bringing in the troops.
Yeah. Let's start bringing them in. Let's hear what people have to say. We've got plenty of questions and, fallout from the North London derby. So let's hear what everyone has to say.
We got a full house tonight, everybody. So do strap in, and we'll try our best to get everyone to have their say. Jerome, I think you were in here first. At least that's according to what StreamYard is telling me. I mean, man, like the big sort of feeling was, it's just kind of felt like it just fell way below expectations. I don't know about you, but Dave and I, we weren't saying it was a must win. We weren't saying like it was a game where you felt like, Spurs had to get something from it. I think all we wanted was just to see us be competitive in this game in some degree. I don't think we could say that. It felt like one of the most embarrassing North London derby performances, at least I can remember. Or am I being dramatic?
No, that's the worst London derby that we ever seen. Because to be honest, I've seen worse the Tottenham team go to the Emirates and compete. They had Henry, Pires, and whoever you wanted in that team. We had better performance than this team had yesterday. That was poor. To be honest, it's like to have, let's forget about the XG or whatever, right? It was like 0.0 in the first half. So, so we didn't lay a glove on them. So forget about all of this. It's a North London derby. Everybody keeps going. Form goes out of the way. All we did yesterday was this. Hide. That means we're just hiding and just hoping we don't get battered. And when that started backfiring on us, the whole team just collapsed. Everybody just panicked. Nobody knew what to do because for 25 minutes, that's all we saw. Long ball, hoofing it up to Richarlison alone, like surrounded by the centre back. He couldn't do anything, and everybody's on his back because we say Richarlison is crap and this. But if you look at it properly, every single time, long ball, hoofing it up. Try to find Richarlison, and he's surrounded. There's nobody around him. There's a huge gap in the midfield. And like Paulinho and Bentancur, they're way, 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 way back. I mean, like, this is the most coward performance I've seen. I've seen really bad performance at the Emirates. Let's not kid ourselves. We were not going to go there and outplay them, beat them, or whatever. We don't do well there. Okay? Let's be real. We never do well there. That's fine. But all I asked was show intent. It's a North London derby. Show that you care for the team. Show that you care for the badge and fight. Fight. It doesn't matter the score was 4-1, whatever. If you showed me fight, if you showed me that you wanted to score, you showed me all of those things, I would have gone, you know what? They are definitely by far the much better team. And at least we tried. That's fine. But yesterday, there was nothing of that. There was none of that. All we did was hide behind a supposed back three, but it was a back five because Udogie and Spence, they never left our half. They kept staying where they are. They got pinned there the whole time. It was cowardice. Like we did nothing. And in the end, only at the end, we were like 3-0 down. Then we started like thinking, it's time to play football. I've seen it plenty of times with this team already. I've seen this when it's like useless, pointless to do anything now. This is when they wake up and they start playing football. Fair enough. You know what? Fair enough. I don't care. Because right now, to me, it's like the way we set up for the North London derby, the way we set up against Chelsea is unacceptable. It is unacceptable. And if this is going to go on like this, we are going to have big questions to be asked. And if it's going to be another Nuno disaster, I'm sorry, you have until January. You have until the January transfer window to sort this nonsense out. I don't want to hear about injuries. I don't want to hear about all of those things. Injuries, all the teams had injuries. Arsenal had injuries. We had injuries. But we still got battered. We still got battered. And all the players that was injured were here. They didn't play. Bergval was here. Sarr, Kolomwani, Xavi, they are all here. They could have started the game, but no, we didn't. We went really ultra defensive. Like really defensive.
A lot of people though wanted to see the back five, Jerome. Like Dave and I were kind of split on it. We didn't really care either way.
The thing is, if you wanted the back five, you needed to have your fullbacks going on and play and give support to your front. Because one, Richarlison was completely isolated. Second, we are going on about Odegaard. But the poor kid, what's he supposed to do? He can't pass it back. He can't go further. He was surrounded as well. There was nothing for them to do in that midfield. Nothing. There was no chance of them doing anything.
Yeah.
The only time we saw something was like the second half when we started playing football. But after that, it was just like nothing. There's nothing. It was too late. Too little, too late.
I agree, man.
And then after that, when it's the same thing. When we start playing and we leave gaps because we have to go and score, that's what happens. Again, right now, like I said before, when Eugene told of you before, the way we played was not very good. It was Vicario being on point, saving us from embarrassment over and over and over and over again. This time, a better team came and Vicario could not save us. He made many saves in this game, but this time he could not save us from embarrassment.
Yeah, so I remember you sent that in. Yeah, I thought that was. Yeah, I remember you sent that in.
It's not just me. Eugene said it as well. Eugene said it many times. Many times he said it, and people were going at him saying, you're talking rubbish. Because he said the way we're playing is not sustainable. He said it for the games we won as well. He said it was okay, but it was not great because they were going at us. Teams are going at us. And we still didn't want to listen. Now that we had a better team come at us and Vicario tried his best but could not be on point, that's what happened. We get embarrassed. Yeah. So what else is there to say? What else is there? Things need to change. Frank, fine. You have time. We are going to give you time. Okay, fine. You want another window? You get the January one. But if it's going to go on like that, seriously, change something, do something else. But I can't keep seeing this going on. So anyway, somebody else.
No, yeah, Chris, I have you next in the order. I mean, what do you have to say off the back of what Jerome's brought up there? I mean, it was one of the most embarrassing ones I can remember, to be honest.
Jack, it wasn't embarrassing. It was spineless. It was gutless. It was pathetic. The players didn't have a clue what they were doing. They were just lumping up front and hoping for the best. We were supposed to go defensive, and that was not defensive. I'm sorry, but either the players just are giving up the ghost already on Frank, or there's something seriously wrong with his tactics, because from what I saw yesterday was just a pathetic, spineless, and pointless performance. In the North London's derby, they just cowered away like little girls, yeah, and they just done absolutely nothing. I'm sorry, but everybody's saying about Thomas Frank. I can't see him lasting till Christmas at this rate, the way the performances are going. That's 2 London derbies in 2 weeks, yeah? 2 spineless performances. 2. We've done that at Chelsea, and now we've done it against Arsenal. And if we lose against Fulham, I think the pressure's definitely on, because now after that yesterday, for me, it's beyond words. It's beyond words of that performance. Just cowardice, pure cowardice from the players. It's all very well come and saying sorry after the game. Don't want to hear it. Don't want to hear the stories no more. Sick of hearing sorry every other game.
Yeah.
Don't care. Don't care about your sorry. Don't care. Nah, enough, Jack. They've got to understand one thing. They wonder why the fans boo them. They wonder why the fans get angry and get on their backs. It's performances like that.
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, I'm at this point, I think even almost 2 managers ago, I was getting tired of the sorries. To be honest, Chris, I don't really take it.
Yeah, it's beyond the point where I don't care whether they say sorry or not. At the end of the day, they're there to put performance on for our badge, for our club. And what I saw yesterday was nothing at all. Pathetic, embarrassing, lethargic. You name it. You can name every word you can possibly find for it. It was that yesterday.
No.
Me, I had to go and lie down after the game. I thought to myself, why do I even bother watching this anymore? Why do I care?
Yeah, did you pull a DB? DB was saying just put himself straight to bed like a
I just lay on the sofa. I just lay on the sofa, just think to myself, what the hell did I just witness? What did I just watch? Why did I even bother watching the whole game?
Yeah.
And just hoping just for that little spark, just to get them going in the second half. And it was just nothing. 10 minutes, if that, in the second half, we had a little fight. Then back to nothing. Pathetic.
Totally.
And it's not just the players who've got to take responsibility for that. It's Thomas Frank as well. Playing that defensive line and thinking that's going to work. Playing a double pivot with Bentancur and Paulinho. Didn't work. Surely he's got to see that's is not working. Surely. It didn't work against Chelsea. It hasn't worked against Man United. It hasn't worked before against Bournemouth. It's surely he's got to see it don't work. Surely.
Yeah. I'm going to go to Ryan. I think I have you third in the order, Ryan, in terms of how people came in. That's what it's telling me on screen. Ryan, I mean, not a good night for Thomas Frank, and honestly, probably the most embarrassing one I can remember basically since the Nuno one, if not worse.
Look, right, first of all, right, it's Enoch's fault, as it always has been. And this is not even me deflecting, trying to do one of my deflecting tactics either, Dave. This is just me being serious at this point. It's Enoch's fault, right? And I don't want them at this club anymore. I don't care if it's the Lewis kids, it's still under the same name, so nothing will change. As to do with Frank, look, he's not even been in the job 5 minutes, right? And people were prepared to give Ange 2 years.
They weren't. That's a myth.
Happened.
They weren't. That was a myth.
So,
people turned on him after the Fulham game in the first season. Fans turned on him. The board gave him 2 years, not fans.
Yeah, the board gave him 2 years. So, but to be honest, right, like I've said what I've said throughout the whole of this season so far. He's getting that free pass from me for whatever happens, right? You can't take for example when Poch was in charge, yeah, right. Look, I'd love to have Poch back, 110%. I would love to. I think most of everyone can kind of agree on this panel that, and most people in the chat would probably agree and say they would like to have Poch back, but he's away with America at the moment. But look how long it took for him, right, to get up and running before he actually hit the ground running properly with his own players in, right? Okay.
Can I ask you a question on that, right?
Yeah, go on.
Just on the Pochettino thing, because I think it's a fair point. You know, people have made the same point towards Arteta and, you know, even Ferguson. But one thing that they don't mention when it comes to these guys is they tried with what they were given. It wasn't working, and they made bold statements, every single one of them, by dipping into the academy and pulling up academy prospects and trying to change the whole culture around the football club. My big question around that with Thomas Frank is, do you think he has the balls to do something like that?
Yes, I think he does, but it's going to take. He's got to see something in some of these young up and coming players as well. And if he doesn't see nothing in there, then how is he meant to change anything? Because like when you look at Pochettino, right, he had Kane, who was able to do amazing things at his age when he first came in. But do we have someone like another Harry Kane sitting in that academy who can come up? If he hasn't, then how are we meant to even get out of this mess? The only way we'll be able to get out of this mess is if the Lewis family go. And then,
but it wasn't just Harry Kane though, Ryan, that took him out of that mess. He brought in Bentaleb, he brought in Mason, you know, players like that from the academy that weren't necessarily stars, but he brought in to try and change the culture.
Yeah, and I get that, but I honestly think he has got the cojones to actually do it. And I know people are going to say, well, I'm talking rubbish or whatever, right? Fine.
You're not allowed to say that.
I don't care, right? Because I will live and die on this Frank Hill until he's eventually gone. Well, I can't say I'll live and die on it. If next season the results aren't getting any better, then obviously, then I'll think about where I stand with it. But at the moment, he's only been in the job 5 minutes, and he needs to have players who can. But I blame the players for this as well. I can't just sit here and just blame it all on Enoch. It is as well the players. They're not good. They even though they know they're not good enough, they need to be what's that word I'm looking for? Cohesive? Is it? I can't remember, Dave. Is that the right word? Cohesive.
Yeah. Cohesive.
Yeah. Okay. So they also need to start pulling their weight and being a cohesive unit. But I just don't know if these players even have that mentality to pull together and get through it, because they are not all. I'm not saying not all of them. I mean, you've got the likes of Kudos, who's there, Xavi Simons, who's there, Mickey van der Ven, who's there, and Romero, who's there, who can do that. But then who else is there that can? And what's his name? Carlo Morani. I think he can do that, and Polino as well. But there's not that many. There's only 5 or 6 players that are there that can do that, and I don't think the others will be on board with the older players trying to bring everyone together. And unfortunately, that is a shame, because that means they either don't care about the club, or they just can't be. They just want to see another manager going out the door, just like we've seen with all these other managers, where you look at someone like Mourinho, right? I don't think he deserved to get the sack when he did, but he got it, and that's unfortunately what happened. And I can't. But like I said, I can't put the blame on Frank though. I really can't.
Okay. Next, I have Mia, and then I have Rain Man afterwards. Mia.
When I spoke the other day, I said all I wanted to see was fight. I didn't say I expected to win. I said I just want to see us put up a fight and actually look like we want to win it. The problem we've got is that we can set up like that and still be attacking. We did it with PSG, but we slightly did it differently because we played the two up top. So we did play it slightly different. Why didn't he play it like that? And at least tell them when we do get the ball to do something with it, because we look scared to go forward again. And that's got to be instructions. That can't be them not having any clue, because they're being told what to do, right, by a manager. So to me, we set up, when he was talking, I think he said something about going, if we went in at 1-0 or something, keeping it tight and whatever, and that would be okay. No. Why have we got that mentality? At the end of the day, we went there for the first half hour, or 20 minutes before they got their goal. They had already almost got the same goal as the first one, and we were lucky that Rice didn't actually score that one. And then we allowed it to happen again, and then what? We knew we had nothing to offer because all he set up to do was go there and not concede. Like, you can't play games of football like that. You cannot play games of football like that. It isn't going to work. You have to offer something going forward. Yes, I blame the players as well. The players weren't good enough, but some of it was instructions. You can tell because they were going forward at one point and they all looked a bit scared. Like, oh, damn, I don't think we're supposed to do this. And that's not going to fly with a lot of fans. That's not going to fly with a lot of fans. And they're going to lose patience. I'm not saying Thomas Frank out, but I think something has to give and something has to change. If he's going to play back three, I don't mind, as long as he sets us up to play back three in the way that you actually do attack. There's no point of setting up and parking every single person in their half. What are we doing? Like, what are we doing? So in our half, what are we doing? We didn't even go over the halfway line most of the time. That's not acceptable. You can't play a game just to park the bus the whole time and not offer anything. We can't do that. And like I say, we showed in PSG, I think I looked it up. We had 13 shots against PSG. We had 3 yesterday, Jack. 3.
Yeah.
3 shots. Unacceptable, man. Unacceptable. And even if you do get chances, you've got to be clinical with it. But we barely offered anything. I think we had 1 shot on target, and that was the Charleston one. And he scored it. So that ended up being part of the XG that was worse than the Chelsea XG. I was mad about that. I don't really go by XG, but I was mad about the whole entire game. And then we go and rock up to our enemies, the people we want to beat the most, and stop them trying to win the league. And we acted like we were just absolutely terrified. Yes, they're a great team, but you can't go around being terrified every single match. And we do. And it's not just against Arsenal. It was against Chelsea. It was against Man United. It was against Wolves. This is a pattern. It's a pattern of continuously happening, and nothing's going to change. And so that's not acceptable if nothing's going to change. Like, he's not changing it.
I think you're making a very good point, Mia, about, and I was sort of making a similar one yesterday, where I don't actually mind having 30% possession, 20% possession, as long as you do have a real plan of when you do get the ball, what your sort of attack and how you sort of plan on sort of getting and causing problems. And you brought up the PSG game as a good example of that. Like, we didn't have a lot of possession against PSG, but every time that we did get the ball, we looked devastating going forward. And it was just not the case at all in that North London derby. So I think that's a good comparison. Both were back.
And Joe, well, there's no excuses, because all the players available for PSG were available yesterday. All of the players that played in that PSG game were available yesterday. So why didn't we set up like that? Why didn't we play like that?
I think the big difference with PSG, and many people don't take it into account, we were levels above in terms of fitness. You know, we had preseason games under our belt. PSG came into it cold, no preseason games.
I get that.
I think that
I get that. I get that.
All over them for the first hour or so.
I do get that, Dave. But what I'm trying to say, we needed.
Sorry, Mia. Just forget the PSG. Yeah, just forget the PSG game. But look at the City game. The way we press. We press City like
City.
We can't say that City was not informed. They were informed. They are playing good football as well, so we press them. So sorry, Mia, you can keep going.
They were in the Club World Cup as well. They won.
The fact is, it doesn't matter. In the game, you've got to set up for how you want to play. You can't set up thinking that you're scared of the other team. So even if we went there and we tried and we failed, at least we bloody tried. At least we tried. We don't press anymore. We don't even press. We don't do nothing. And that is the problem. That is the biggest problem, that we don't do nothing. That, I think, that is where people are going to get fed up with it. People are going to get fed up, and people are starting to get fed up. And that's completely understandable. Like, people are getting on to Frank and saying that he needs to do something. Yes, maybe the players, we haven't got the greatest players, but come on, man, we can play better than that. The XG that we're producing at the moment, my 3 dogs could do a better job. Like, honestly, it's absolutely ridiculous and it's unacceptable. It's unacceptable to go into a North London derby and set up like that. And I don't want to bring up previous managers, but previous managers have never gone to there and lost by that margin. They have not. So for me, there's something wrong. And I don't know if the players, I hope they're not down in tools, but it feels like as well maybe players might be a little bit fed up with the way that it's going, with the way we're playing.
Just on that, Mia, Matt Law did put something out not so long ago today where he said some Spurs sources believe Thomas Frank's numerous changes have contributed to inconsistency and the team's lack of attacking potency, and some players are thought to be keen for Frank to focus more on the strengths of his own team rather than the opposition, although it is unclear how strong and widespread that feeling is. And that is according to journalist Matt Law, just so people don't come in the comments and start saying I'm making shit up. It's what was printed out there earlier on by Matt Law. So just put that out there, and then, I suppose people want to touch on that going forward, they can.
Yeah, I didn't even know that he...
I wouldn't even listen to this, me. I wouldn't even pay attention to these things. I'm like, whatever they say, like Matt Law and all this, like, no.
I just think it comes out that sort of stuff comes out all the time. After big losses like that, it always seems to.
It's always come up, like those things. Whenever the team's in crisis, there's those things that come up. So I would not literally just pay attention to this.
It's almost like ChatGPT writes it for them.
Like while I don't obviously take much, I'm not going to take much credence from that. It is basically what I've just said, though, that basically the players want to concentrate on what's better, is that to concentrate on our strengths and not be so scared to attack a team because we're so petrified. There's a balance. You don't want Ange ball, but you don't want this either. There's got to be a balance. There must be a middle ground that we can reach. Like, honestly, I can't understand. He's this tactician of a manager that he can't find a middle ground. That's my final words on it.
Okay. Well, Dermot only has so long left, and then we were to go to Rain Man because I'm just going by the order in which people came in. But Dermot, have your say on this North London derby fallout. Anything that Mia, Jerome, or Chris has had to say, or your own contribution?
Look, I've seen a lot of North London derbies over the years at Highbury, at the Emirates. I've seen bad Tottenham teams put in more of an effort than I saw yesterday. I've heard everyone saying it's the player's fault, it's Thomas Frank's fault. Yes, it is the player's fault. Totally agree. Totally, utterly agree. I'm now Frank out. And I said it yesterday during the watch along. I cannot take this anymore.
Not too premature, Dermo?
I think he's hipster, Dave. He's got to go ahead of the curve, He's got to be ahead of the mainstream.
No, I've saw enough with Chelsea.
Even I'm not there yet, Dermo.
Yeah, well, I'd like to be ahead of you, Dave, now and again.
He's hipster.
I have to be first in something. Wexford has to beat Kildare in something, Dave. So to be fair, give me that. I saw enough in Chelsea to tell me the worst XG, and then we matched that yesterday with even worse XG. We're playing at home like we're playing to defend every time. We're playing to get a point, and we don't play like that. It's not the Tottenham way. Whatever the Tottenham way is, I have no clue now because we've got no identity. We don't know. We're bipolar. I don't know who we are. We're either Dr. Heckle or Dr. Hyde. We're one of the two. Thomas Frank has to take wholly responsibility for yesterday. He's the one that sets the tactics up. He's the one that prepares the teams for the game. He's the one that has to put it together. And I know Ryan's going to say I'm talking absolute gobbledygook and
forget about Ryan. You just speak about what you want to speak about.
Yeah, but weren't we all quick enough to jump on Ange Postecoglou when it was going wrong for him? And he won us a trophy. I don't see any improvement. I've seen it's gone backwards under Thomas Frank. He's coming to Tottenham with a Brentford mentality. He thinks we're Brentford. We're not Brentford. We're Tottenham Hotspur Football Club. We're the greatest team in the world. We're the team that we're all proud of being Spurs fans. Though we're all hurting today. Every one of us is hurting. Every one of us is angry. Every one of us wants to go into that dressing room and rip the players' heads from their shoulders because of what they did to us yesterday. Them fans that went to the game should be reimbursed for their money that went to the Emirates yesterday. They've got more guts and determination than them 11 plus players on the pitch. And for me, I hold no hope for Wednesday. I think PSG are going to batter us. And I think Fulham's D-Day. If we don't play well and we don't beat Fulham by a good amount of goals, I mean 2 or 3-0, and play well and play attacking football, then I don't see. I agree with Chris. I don't see Thomas Frank lasting more than to Christmas.
Dermot, can I just say one thing to you, Dermot? Yeah.
And just one quick day, can Chris? Just 1 minute. Why would Tottenham give a manager money to spend on players that he's not going to be able to coach and give the right tactics to? What's the point? What's the point of spending money on a manager we're not going to keep around?
100%.
Right, Dermot, right? Our motto, for Tottenham is to dare is to do. Did you see that? To dare is to do yesterday? Yeah. Was it yesterday?
No. What I saw, Chris, was to dare was what not to do. That's what I saw yesterday.
Exactly. That's exactly what I was asking. But see, our motto is supposed to be to dare is to do. We dared to actually show our faces and put in a performance like that.
I'm sorry. I'm nearly 50. You know, I've had heart attacks. I've got dodgy knees. My back's fucked. Everyone on this channel tonight would put in more of an effort. I don't know how many. I think there's 10 of us in. We're one short from a team. We'll put more of an effort in yesterday than them players showed. And it's bad that we have to come on here and show our passion. I think the players should watch this show or watch a fan show and see what the club really means, because some of them don't have a clue. And as for Brennan Johnson, this is my final word, and then I'm going to be quiet and go. On Brennan Johnson, did anyone see him come on? Because the last time I saw him, was he sitting in the East Stand eating a sandwich with an Arsenal fan?
Yeah, but yesterday isn't just on Johnson, though. It's hard to put him out individually, though.
Yeah, as much as I would love to.
I don't rate the guy.
He came on and didn't. I saw Papa Sarr didn't do anything. Xavi didn't do anything, but we saw them on the pitch. I didn't see Brennan Johnson at all. He went hiding. He did his usual trick, get actors act as a ghost or disappear. Thomas Frank has to get hold of that squad and do something with it. There has to be clear to air talks. Either the players are down in tools. I agree with Mir. It does look like that. Or Thomas Frank has to change strategically between now and Fulham on Saturday. Because I don't think we as Tottenham fans are not going to stick for this much longer.
If we beat Fulham, are you Frank back in?
Pardon?
If we beat Fulham, are you Frank back in?
No, he's got to do a lot more to prove to me he's worth my support. After yesterday, he doesn't deserve my support. My club deserves my support. The manager doesn't.
That'd be awesome if next week's fan show, Dermot, we win 5-0 against Fulham. Dermot goes like, never doubted him. Never doubted him once. No. All right, Rain Man, you've been very patient. Thank you, Dermot.
Right, see you later, lads.
Rain Man, where are you coming out from this?
Let's get Rain in. I just want to take these two comments, and then I also want to pose just a quick comment to Rain before we let him off. Wayne Bonner says this is Levy's legacy. I mean, look, the fact that Eze turned up, scored a hat-trick in the North London derby, and we're pissing about getting him over the line, I mean, says everything about the era, really, doesn't it? You know. And then Faz Radfar says Ange lost 2-1 to Arsenal without first-team defenders with Archie Gray and Dragusin at the back. But what I will say is, Faz, I do think we have to stop using Ange as a stick to sort of beat Frank with. I do think we should just be judging Frank on his own merit and what we're seeing in front of us rather than sort of comparing. Because to be honest with you, I don't think it actually helps anybody either side to really sort of, have any clarification around what they're thinking. But I
it's
do
hard
understand.
Not to, but yeah, I agree with you.
I do understand the point of Faz Radfar. And Wayno, look, at the end of the day, the guy's gone now as well, which thank God, and we'll see the Lewis family's true intention. But this is the comment I sort of want to leave up here, and then we'll let Rain off. But, I think Basil Collins, and I think this is a fair comment to make, he says there are no positive data points that indicates Frank should stay. Let's not make the same mistake as we did with Ange by keeping him in around. Get rid of him now. Now, that last part, I'm a little bit different on right now. But I think the first part is fair to say, and hopefully, Rain, you can bring me a couple here today. What are the positive data points maybe around Frank that we can keep him? Because, look, to be fair, I was doing a show the other day. I brought up what Sky Sports printed about how bad we were going forward. You did put in the comment section and say you're out of here. You didn't want to listen to that narrative. So what I would ask, if you want to counter that narrative, I would like you to bring me some positive data points that I can use to get behind Frank.
So I love Dermot's passion. I love how much Dermot loves our club.
He's gonna be Frank in next week, I'll tell you.
He will.
Maybe, but that's because he's an emotional guy, right? That's because he leads with his heart, and you can never argue against it. Really, you know. I'm much less emotional. Obviously, I'm emotional during games. You need to sit next to me to experience that. I once was shushed by Hugo Lloris personally because I was yelling at them to push up, and he turned around and he looked directly at me and shushed me. I think I was right at the time. So I certainly have passion outside, sort of inside the game, but I like to be a little bit more. I like to try to be a little bit more cerebral and try to be a little bit more balanced. Although I do understand, like I say, I do understand. I do understand people like Dermot who have been, a falling one way. I'm very clear that this is Levy's legacy, where we are. I don't think it's a Frank problem. I didn't think last year, particularly, it was an Ange problem. We're brutally honest, right? I didn't think it was a Conte problem. I didn't think it was a Jose problem. I didn't even really think it was a Poch problem. I think you can go back to each of these managers, and the strong ones called out what the problem is. We've got a beautiful house, but no furniture. Remember? Still the same.
Yeah.
Still true.
Mm.
Something never changes. 20 years and something never changes. The only thing that keeps on changing is the manager. It's still true.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Ange last right at the end. We need to start getting experience into this team. It's still true. The reality of our situation is, in my estimation, is that yes, as Jerome said, everybody's got injuries. When Arsenal have Odegaard out injured, they bring in Eze. When Arsenal have Havertz out injured, they bring in Marino. When Arsenal decide that, when Arsenal have Gabriel out injured, they bring in Nkapio.
Yeah.
That's the difference. That is the difference between the two clubs. It's not Frank. It's not Ange. It's not Jose. It's not Conte. The difference is that Arsenal have been doing what I call filling from the top. They buy a player who is good enough to go straight into their first team, and we have been filling from the bottom. We buy players like Tell, Odegaard, Gray. Even when we bought him, Spence, Udogie, Sarr, Bergvall, we buy players who might become good in a certain point of time. That's the reality of the situation where we are. A week ago, everyone was sure that Odegaard should start every single game.
Or Odegaard, yeah.
Odegaard should start every single game. I came on and I said, look, the consistent thing you're going to get with young players is inconsistency. That's where we are. That is where we are. At the weekend, it was horrendous. And I cannot imagine what it must have been like for you guys to do a watch along and to actually be exposed.
We've done worse.
In that kind of way. And I think maybe you have done worse, right? Because did anybody really see us going into that game and getting anything else?
A bit of fight and heart. That's what I expected.
And you know what? I don't disagree, but fight and heart does actually come from the players. That is personal responsibility. So, and this is the last thing that I'm going to say. I see responsibility over periods of time. So the players are responsible for what happens within a game. They are the ones that are on the pitch. They are the ones who need to actually deliver. The manager is responsible for what happens over a season. He needs to adapt. He needs to manage situations. He needs to pick the right teams over periods of time. The board is responsible for the club's general health. Our general health is appalling. We are in such a bad shape. There is very, very few players even in our first team who are going to get into Arsenal's first team. And I would even go as far as to say, if you consider as a second string, because I'm sure Odegaard gets ahead of him, that a lot of their second string get into our first team. That is Levy's legacy.
So, Rain, can I just ask you something then? Because it's kind of interesting what you said there, about building from the bottom to the top when it should be the top to the bottom. So, do you
filling from the top, filling from the bottom?
Yeah, basically. So, what I'm trying to get, do you think we've been trying to bolster the squad, right, from the bottom, like to get like the reserves and the subs put in first before we start dealing with the first team, when it should be the first team, then doing like what Arsenal are doing, building the first team, then getting the subs in, and then the reserves in after that?
I think we've been searching for Gareth Bale ever since we sold Gareth Bale. That's what I think the club has been doing. I think they've been searching for that player who we can spend 5 or 10 million on, and then becomes £100 million superstar.
I do agree with you in terms of the transfers that Tottenham make, and I've sort of said that in years gone by myself, and I fully agree with you on that. But the reality is, just like Jose, Conte, and other managers, you're not going to get that luxury at Tottenham, and it is up to you to make the best of what you can. And I think when it comes to Thomas Frank, is he the right guy to be backing and pushing on? I think that's the question many people have around it. Is he the right guy, to sort of back, and that's going to take us on that journey? And like when it comes to Arsenal squad depth, granted, they spent a lot of money. They also brought through Waneri. They also brought through Lewis Miles Skelly. They also brought through Max Dowman. And there was a couple of other players and other players that Arteta brought through before he ended up shipping them on. He helped create the squad depth at Arsenal. It wasn't just all money. He had the balls to turn to the academy and give some of them the opportunity, persist with them, and build them up into good enough to be in the squad and stuff like that. And they're the questions I have. I'm left with around Thomas Frank. I'm just not quite sure that he's going to have the bollocks to be able to do something like that, because at the end of the day, if he keeps persisting with some of this lot, they are going to let him down. They are going to get him the sack. So I think at some point you got to try and put your own destiny in your own hands and try and change the culture around the club. And that's by being brave and looking maybe at some of the academy prospects or some of the players that we've got out on loan to come back and maybe change some of the situation. But and also with Frank's CV, I look at Brentford, for instance, right? I look at them now this season. They lost their manager. They lost the backroom team. They lost all their best players. Yet they're still kicking on doing the exact same thing, And at the end of the day, we brought in Frank because of his ability to be able to punch above his weight, with less resources and less quality. And the fact that people are already pivoting to the quality goes against the whole reason why we brought Frank in the first place. And that's where I just sort of question, is this guy, for me personally, is this the guy I want to put all my eggs in his basket? And I'm still yet to be convinced.
So I've definitely seen improvements. One of the things that I've loved watching is the training videos. You hear so many voices in those training videos. When you watch them, go back and watch the ones from last year. No disrespect, but I don't think Ange built a big enough. I think one of Ange's problems is he didn't build a big enough coaching team to support him. I think that was something that
100%. Yep.
If he looked back, he should have said to himself, I didn't get enough support on the training pitch. If you go and have a look at our training videos now, there's so many voices. It's so vocal. It's you can tell that it's all happening. We're definitely seeing Odegaard improving. Fast enough? Probably not. To a required standard? Who knows? Johnson, I'm not sure how high the ceiling is. The floor was low, but with nobody can disagree that he has been improving. He has been trying. It may not happen very often, but he tries to take on his man and he tries to cross.
He
Right?
scored 19 goals last season, but his output is nowhere near that.
I think. But if we're talking about performances, if we're talking about what he's doing for his position, if we just want somebody to turn up at the back post, then just play the same way as before.
But that's what he's good at. We need to play to our strengths, and that's what Thomas Frank isn't getting the best out of these forward players.
I think, Stephen. People were saying Johnson even after. People say Johnson is rubbish, even after he scored 19 goals last season. So I hear you, but the zeitgeist is not that Johnson was a good player last year. It's just it's just that he got on the end of goals last year.
That's his strength.
That's what we need. We're lacking that at the moment.
He's a
So if you're a
merchant.
manager, you have to try and get the best out of what you've got. And I don't think he's getting the best out of the players that he's got up top.
Well,
a few weeks ago,
what we're seeing is improvement. What that improvement does not happen fast. What happens fast is buying quality players who are buying a Semenyo and getting him into your team and playing him at left wing.
What you mean, like like a Chatri or a Kudos or a Moani? The players he does.
I would. Well, I mean, we can put Moani out, right? Because he's been a medical disaster case. But Kudos is playing well until we just
he's dropped off a lot, actually. I think in recent
we ran him into the ground. He's got nobody to support him. Zabi is just like Bert. He's just like many other non-Premier League players. He needs some time to acclimatise.
Well, I'm glad you said that.
And he hasn't got support. Eze needed time to acclimatise to playing for Arsenal, and he got it. Why did he get it? Because he got so many other players.
And he got the minutes as well.
He got so many other players. Chelsea, again, are another good example. I've used it many times, haven't I, Dave? Esteval, Gittins, right? These are really quality players who they pay very, very good money for. They're not starting them. At Tottenham, they would be first team because we would be demanding they play, and actually the manager would have nobody else.
Can I just say as well, those players that you've mentioned are allowed to cross the halfway line, so they're allowed to express themselves. Our players aren't allowed to cross the halfway line, and that's what it is. I can understand if we had our wingers going forward and they weren't being able to take players on, or if people were missing chances left, right, and centre, then you could say, okay, it is a quality issue. But I see a lot of potential and quality, and there's a lot of people that are saying you need to give Frank time, but people aren't giving the players time. And let's be fair, they're not showing what they can do because of the way they're set up. So a few weeks ago,
Can I just counter that? Against Man United, we played most of the time in their half, right? We played most of the time in their half.
That was a slightly better game.
Against Chelsea, we weren't. I mean, I was there, right? I wasted 8 hours of my time to go and watch us get beaten. We were beaten 1-0 by a lucky goal, and there were moments. The problem is not effort. The problem is quality. And
I disagree.
Without quality,
I disagree.
It can't. We've got quality players.
If you've ever played against a player who's 20% better than you, then you will know. I used to play against a Belgian guy who was
I actually disagree with that as well.
He was just whoosh.
Well, we'll wait till you're done because I think I'm next, and then I'll come in.
Yeah. Any other final points there, Rain? And then Stefan, it's after you.
No, that was the only thing. I mean, I knew that I was going to be controversial. I knew that I was going to be countered.
You've come across well there.
I knew that I was going to be countered. I'm very, very clear, and I've been very. I hope that over the time that I've been on this channel, I've been really, really, really consistent, even to the point of why I was going to protests. It's exactly the same problem. The problem is our players, the squad of players aren't good enough.
That is true. That is true.
Yeah.
You have been consistent on that regard.
I think many Spurs fans will sort of, agree with that 100%. The quality of players could be improved. And Al Ben sort of says the same here, getting what he needs. Frank Ball needs a Wisa and an Embuemo, and we'll finish 12th. If not, then we'll be looking at another 17th place finish. And look, understand what people are saying in terms of some quality options. But, to Stefan's point, Al Ben, if you're not even putting players in a position to be able to score goals, then that's a huge problem. We scored yesterday because Richarlison brought ranks and shot from long distance, which Frank doesn't like his players doing. All the attacking metrics are absolutely shocking. We're down near the bottom of the league, bar outperforming our XG, which puts us top of the league. And that's not a good reading, the fact we're top of the league at that, or outperforming our XG. But also, I think it's a fair question to ask. Thomas Frank has put out 17 different forward lines in 18 games. It's a massive part of why this forward line is clicking and stuff like that. It's not just all on the quality. And I made this point weeks ago and no one wanted to hear it. Hopefully now they're listening. But Ange got more out of Richarlison and he got more out of Brennan Johnson than what Frank is getting. And that's why it's not all down to the quality of the player. Some of it is to do with the system, the instructions and stuff like that, Al Ben. But big up, my man. Really appreciate the support. But look, let's get Stefan in. And I know Eugene has been very, very patient as well with us. So we'll get these two in and then we'll open up the floor for the last half an hour or so for everyone to sort of attack each other's opinions if that's what you want to do. But we'll get Stefan and Eugene in because I know these two have been very patient in the action, by the way, lads. So fair play and thank you.
No worries. Thanks for having me. So I've always thought of ENIC as stopping us from challenging the top 2 or 3 teams at the very top of the league. I think you can criticise them for that because they haven't bought the players that we need to really kick on and challenge. However, I don't think they're responsible for, what we're seeing at the moment because our average position in the Premier League over the last 20 odd years has been 5th, So, as much as people are blaming the players, that we've never been this poor and like these derby games, and it's because of the way we're set up. We've got quality players, they just aren't allowed to go and express themselves because, like I said to you a few weeks ago, if you put these players in a position where they can actually do something and affect the game, you'll be able to see a much different team. And like we had a good 10-minute spell yesterday, but obviously we were 3-0 down at the time, so it just wasn't enough. Like, I know we were never really gonna beat Arsenal. I think if we used our heads a little bit, but I think we expected a hell of a lot more than what we got yesterday because that was just so poor. You say things like going to the Emirates is like a trip to the dentist. Well, I went to the dentist today and yesterday as well, so I got double the amount of pain, and it was the hygienist as well, which was absolutely horrific. But yeah, I think ENIC have stopped us from competing at the very, very top of the league, but they haven't. You can't blame them for, what we've got at the moment. We should be doing a lot better with the quality we have. I've seen people online and people on streams and stuff saying, "Oh, it's the quality of the players, the quality." We don't have League Two players, and even if we did, those League Two teams would put in a hell of a lot better display at the Emirates than what we put in yesterday. So, to me, I've given Frank, I was skeptical about the appointment and now I'm doubtful. And the only reason I'm not Frank out at the moment is because there isn't an obvious candidate to take over. And I made a prediction a few weeks ago on this show and I said he'd be gone by Christmas. And a lot of people kind of thought, what the hell are you talking about? Well, he's probably only 2 or 3 more bad results. Take PSG out of it. But he's probably only 2 or 3 more results from that actually happening or becoming a reality. That's just the way it is. I think he benefited a lot from Brentford's scouting model, and you can see that now, the way Brentford are playing and kicking on. And they're only 2 points behind us in the league. And I don't think he's the type of manager that really likes to give these players a rollicking when they really need it. Sometimes I don't think they respect him. These players have played for big managers, they're internationals. Some of them are Champions League players. We're talking about these players like we've got no hope in the world, and it's like, oh, we can't just get any old manager and he click his fingers and do something different. But I think we can. I think we could get more of a tune out of these players. And people are saying you've got to give the manager time, Yeah, that's fair, but you have to see something. And at the moment, I'm not seeing anything. And to that same logic, if you're going to give the manager time, you need to give these players time as well. You can't just write these players off after three or 4 weeks of joining us or whatever it is, of being in the team. what we need to do is we need to find our first 11 and we need to find it quick. Because if we don't, he's going to go down the same road as Nuno, because the parallels are just like this at the moment. They are very, very similar. If you look at his tenure and the way the fans are reacting, it's only going to take one or two more results, and that is what's going to happen. I said it before and I said it again. Pragmatic managers do not work at Spurs. They just do not work. And I would not be surprised at all if we're sat here near Christmas time with a new manager.
I said that to Dave today. I said that to Dave today just to confirm it. The idea of like, I'm all about patience, but I think you have to have things that you feel like you've been seeing to be patient for. If you're not seeing anything to be patient for, then it is hard to just sort of, it sounds nice in theory to be patient, but it is hard to sort of, if you're not getting encouraged by anything. But other people have better patience tolerance than I do, which could be the case.
Yeah, the thing is,
I think the only thing that's saving him at the moment is, like I said, there's not an obvious candidate. When Nuno was under pressure, Conte was right there, and if you remember, we nearly got him the first time, and then I think it was Paratici. There was a game we lost at home, and he got on his phone like at half time or something, and everybody just thought, okay, he's making some calls, and we managed to get Conte through the door. There isn't that obvious candidate at the moment, but if there was, I think he would be dismissed sooner than what he actually is. And by the way, we don't owe this manager anything. He has no emotional attachment to Spurs whatsoever. And I didn't like the comment when he said this team finished 17th last year.
Exactly.
Actually, you started on 0 points with every other team in the league. We all started a level, and you know
you won the Europa League last year. Funny he didn't mention that.
Yeah, exactly.
No, that's the thing.
And he also said when he first joined that Ange is a Spurs legend and he deserves respect, which he does because of what he achieved. I think personally,
off what Ange Postecoglou done for the Europa League, right? You said,
exactly.
These are the shoulders I walk on.
Yeah, and I think Ange sacrificed his own job for that trophy because if we weren't in that trophy, our league results would have improved massively, and we were only one result away from like finishing 15th, which I know is not a drastic improvement.
Stefan, can I ask you a question?
Just one thing. He gave the fans exactly what we've been craving for the last 17 years. He gave us a trophy, and he did that at the expense of his own job. At the expense of his own job.
That's the thing I want. But just before you ask the question, Chris,
you gone.
Just before you ask the question, that's the narrative that got me really angry. Everybody is using that finishing 17th in the league to give it pass to this team for their bad performance. This is not right. We should not be using this. And for the manager to come and say we finished 17th last season, we have to understand we finished 17th last season. I'm sorry, that is not an excuse. This is a new season. You are meant to come here and say, and we have addressed the attacking problem that we had last season. We have addressed it. Okay, we brought in number 6. We brought attacking players to say we are addressing the attacking problems we had last season. So for the manager to come and say we finished 17th last season, it's not. It's an unacceptable comment. It's irrelevant because this season.
I think it's perfectly indicative of the quality of the squad. A lot of people use it to batter Ange. I am absolutely consistent. I don't think it's Frank's fault. I don't think that was Ange's fault. I think it's absolutely indicative of the quality of the squad. You're right, Jerome, that yes, we've addressed some.
You can't use that.
But then we've had it's just indicative of the quality of the squad that's available to us. I agree with.
Then be like Poch. Good. Then be like Poch, Ray. Tell him to go to our academy player, bring them across, and then say, "I believe in youth," just like Poch did before. I believe in youth. I bring youth, and I will develop them. That's the main thing you need to do. If that squad is not that good.
International players.
I'd personally love to know who sanctioned all the loans out. But I wanted to say one thing about what Stefan said, because I agreed with so much of it. And one of the things that I really, really, really 100% agree with is Frank benefited from the Brentford scouting model. And Frank called it out in the summer. In his very polite Scandinavian way, he said, we don't have the chemistry within the transfer team that I had at Brentford. And that's clearly something that needs to be addressed. That's what needs to be fixed. That's what needs to be fixed at Tottenham Hotspur.
I get what you're saying, but I also think Frank needs to realise, outside of Brentford and Brighton, that their whole transfer and data model is completely, no other club is going to have that. So if he wants that, fuck off to Brighton at the end of the day. You know, you're not going to get that at any other club. It's specific to them two clubs, because them two owners have used whatever they're using in the betting market where they made their money. They're applying to the transfer window, and it seems to be working out a treat. For instance, Potter. Everyone told me he was the greatest thing since sliced bread. I warned everybody he's not as good as you're saying. Went to Chelsea, couldn't last, and he went to West Ham, didn't last. And I think that's why I'm going to be very hesitant in touching managers from them clubs moving forward, because when they have moved on managers, they're just continuing on the exact same way, which I actually think speaks more about how well their club is run compared to actually the actual manager's ability. But guys, I do want to get Eugene in. He has been very, very patient, and I want to give him his chance to air what he has to say. After Eugene, everyone's had a say then. You can all go at each other's opinions after that. I just want to be conscious to get Eugene in. Thank you for being so patient, my man.
Yeah, no worries. I'm just amazed at some of the things that I've been hearing just in general, to justify where we are. People comparing Frank to Fergie, saying, give him time. Fergie won with Aberdeen. Nobody else done that. He won a trophy, a European trophy. With Frank, won nothing, right? No track record. Every successful team, I'm not even talking about a great team, every successful team that I've seen in my lifetime had a style of play and a philosophy. Klopp's Liverpool, Pep's City, Fergie's United. You cannot tell me what Frank's philosophy is or style of play. Again, for Arsenal, most fans, including myself, I expected a loss. Obviously, the gap in quality is huge. However, under Poch, with our best teams, when Arsenal was down, they were rubbish. They beat us, right? Derby's a derby. For a reason, there's a saying that form goes out of the window. I did not expect to win, but I expected them to turn up like I did against Chelsea. So the quality conversation, I don't want to hear about it. There is no reason we have enough quality to play like Sunderland did or like Fulham did. Nobody can tell me that our players are not as good as Sunderland's players or Fulham's players or Brentford's players. That's rubbish. Nobody can tell me that. Again, I'm all for losses. Not all for losses. I can stomach losses for a season if I see a project, if I see building blocks, right? I'm okay with that. I'm okay with under Poch. People bring up Poch. Poch was struggling, but we could all see what he was trying to build. It was just a matter of quality and time. Right now, I do not see if Frank is given his players, better players, how he's going to improve the results, right? The lack of quality, you can point to that saying, look, Frank is setting up in a certain way, but we cannot finish our dinner. Right now, he's not even doing that. If he gets Semenyo, there's no evidence that he's going to be setting us up differently. He's not even trying to do it. So again, lack of philosophy, lack of style, cowardly tactics. Nothing has to do with Levy or Inigo or anything else. Nobody's talking about lack of players. That's a different conversation, right? We can talk about lack of players when we were under Poch, when we were close to competing or winning the league. Right? If we're close to Arsenal, we can say, yep, the gap is big. We're not even close to them. What we need to do is to build. Ange got his tactics totally wrong. However, he was trying to build a philosophy of bravery and going at teams, and which is why I defended him. Not for results, not for tactics, but the philosophy of being brave. Right now, it's the opposite. We have international players in every position. There might not be top 4 quality, but we can at least do what Sunderland did. So nobody can tell me otherwise. And last thing, I was thinking about it last night about Frank and the analogy. And again, bear with me. I've been working in tech for 20 years, right? I'm in Silicon Valley. And I've seen a lot of people who went to school, were A students, were very good in school. When they graduated, when they went to work, they never get above the mid-level management because they're only look at things a certain way, like they've been taught in school. The most successful people in my field are the ones who think outside the box, right? Who were never A students, but they look at things differently. When you look at Frank, people call him the professor, this and that, tactics boards, all that stuff. Great. He might be a good coach. However, it takes more to be a great manager for a top team. If you only look at what you've learned and you don't think outside the box and you try to adjust to other teams, you will never be great. And in order to succeed with this club, the cursed club, you need a manager, you need a visionary, you need somebody who thinks outside the box, not somebody who just looks, and analyzes tactics and that's it. There have been many, many very good coaches. The world is full of great coaches who can never make it to the Prem. And how many good coaches were managing mid-table teams who's failed when they made a step up? It's not about tactics. It's not all about tactics and coaching. It's about everything else. It's about dealing with egos. It's about understanding defense. It's about understanding the club that you manage. And Frank, my biggest issue is he does not understand our club. Right? Ange, again, I don't want to go back to Ange, but Ange understood us. Again, tactics failed him, but he understood the club. Poch understood the club, what the fans expect, what the ethos is. Frank does not. So we can all talk about giving him time. That's fine. I will never call for a manager out after whatever, a few months. Give him a year. However, what I've been seeing from day one is that Frank does not understand the club. He does not have the philosophy. He has a mid-table mentality not to lose. And I don't care about the players who he has at his disposal. We're not this bad. We should not be setting records in futility. We should not be able to have no shots on goal in multiple games. So I'm not going to beat a dead horse about tactics. It's all clear, right? It's clear for everybody to see the way we play. The issue with me is bigger than just tactics or the players or Enoch or Levy or anything else. It's what do we want our club to be? How do we want to play the game? If we are set up in a way we go at teams and we lose because of lack of quality, I can live with that. I can point at Enoch, Levy, Vinay, whoever, and saying, look, the manager's trying, the players are trying, we're not good enough. But I'm not seeing that. I'm not seeing. So now I cannot point at Enoch saying, hey, look, give us players, because I do not have confidence at Frank to take better players and change his tactics.
And that's
Show me one manager who succeeded, who was going back and forth between defensive and attacking tactics. I have not seen one who adjusts every time to opposition and doesn't have a philosophy.
But Eugene,
So
I distinctly
my rant.
remember you being on this channel last year saying the problem with Andrew is that he wasn't adaptable.
Agree. Yes.
So
Yeah.
you can't have it both ways. You can't have.
No,
You can't.
Rain,
You can't
I'm
say
saying
who's not adapt. You know, you can't say I'm going to criticize a manager for not adapting, and I'm going to criticize a manager for adapting. You can't. You
Frank
can't have
isn't
a
so, Rain,
adaptable.
so let me answer that, Dave. Adapt. When I say adapt, right, I mean
No, what
you don't
Eugene
change
said was
philosophy. You make tweaks to formation, right? Drop the high line, don't invert both fullbacks. You can adapt, you can make changes. But with Ange, I knew what he was trying to do, right? Like the philosophy was there. And within that philosophy, like Pep, like Klopp, you can make adjustments based on your team and based on who you're playing. But the
Is
philosophy is
anybody
philosophy. But with Frank, I just don't understand what he's trying to do.
I think.
is anybody else worried that
I think he's trying to build. I think he's
With
trying
what?
to do what everybody does when they go from taking something over. They do the safest thing first, which is I'm going to try and be safety first. That's what everybody does when they.
It's
I'm
November?
currently taking over some processes from another team, and we're doing exactly what they do to start with, whilst we work out what they were doing wrong, which we found out quite a lot.
But
By the way.
nobody's playing
But-
low block right now. I mean, all right, sorry. But like the low block Stoke style, like I've never seen a big club play like we do. Again, like I agree with you. You got to build something, but and that the myth that he's improved our defense that's a myth. We've been giving up so many chances.
Yeah.
Because
I
before
think
the
it's just.
teams,
I think it's just Pally. I think it's just Pallinia. If I'm brutally honest.
but how can you play low block and be wide open at the same time? Like, also, if defense is our strongest unit, which it is, then why play low block? Trust them to do their jobs and focus on improving the attack.
Thing is, I
Push
don't think it needs to be as
midfielders up.
low. Like, like, to be honest with you, the 5 at the back, the 4 at the back is what it is. I don't really mind on that. It's for me, it's the certain things. Press it out of possession. You look at 15, I think, someone said it earlier to me, 15 of the 20 Premier League teams all employ high pressing. The ones that don't are the teams that are sitting down scrapping relegation. Like, and this is where I get a bit upset with Frank, is because we've seen we can do it. Man City earlier on in the season, Burnley, we went and pressed these teams high because we didn't have the ability to unlock them time and time and time again, but we did press them high and we score goals off the back of it. And since then, he's took Papa Matasar out of the team. He's dropped the whole team so far back. When we're playing that low block and our strikers are sitting back where your midfielders are supposed to be, you are asking to concede. You are asking for teams just to come at you. And this is the thing. At Brentford, that works. At Tottenham, there has to be a plan out of possession to try and get up, relieve pressure and stuff like that. There's bigger demands on him at Tottenham Hotspur than what there would be at Brentford. And that's where I sort of question Frank. The fact that we've played the least amount of true balls than any other team in the league, that's not down to player ability. That's down to instruction. The fact that we're third lowest in the league for shots outside the box, again, that's not down to ability. No, that's down to instruction. Anyone go and listen, and as well, this is where I get confused with Frank. He done an interview with James Lawrence Alcott before the North London Derby on Sky Sports. He sat there going, I love pressing. I love being aggressive in the press. But all I've watched since the first 3 or 4 games of the season is Tottenham sit back, against teams and not really go to employ any press. At the end of the day, no matter what team you have, if you're just going to sit back and have no plan out of possession or don't put any pressure on the ball, you are going to lose the majority of games.
What's that?
I don't agree with that, Dave. I don't agree with that, Dave. And the reason why I don't agree with that is because the reason why we are like we are is because we haven't got the quality in players at the moment.
It's not an excuse.
Ryan, he had the players to do it against
excuses, Ryan.
We've got international players. They play for their countries. It's something like Holland, Ghana, England.
Don't start about the quality of players, Ryan. It's like it's excuses, man, as well. Last season, you all said that this team should not be 17th.
Yeah, the fair point, Jerome. I made that point.
Last season, you all bang on about us that this team should not be 17th and it should be higher in the league. Now, suddenly, you're telling me that it's the quality of the players? Come on, man. No, don't do that.
That's fair.
That's where I sort of get a little bit worried is, with Frank, it was, last year with the squad, it's not as bad as we look at, in front of our own eyes. Another manager will get better out of it. Now that hasn't happened. Now all of a sudden people are pivoting back to the quality of the players and stuff like that. And at the end of the day, I think the whole reason why one of the main reasons why we bought Thomas Frank was because he didn't need star-studded players in every position to be able to punch above his weight. And he's, since he's come to Tottenham, he's not doing that, but Brentford are continuing on to do that. And I think there also has to be questions. When he went for the interviews with Man United and Chelsea, why didn't he get the job? Why did they turn him down? And I think, there has to be questions asked around that. But before I open up the floor, Alban says, Vicario had 3 games making incredible saves that were just not normal. With another keeper and poor games that we escape, we'll be close to 17th. And look, I fully understand in terms of what you're saying recently with Vicario, and I take that point. However, to be fair, I know people like fairness, and I'm going to be fair here. He did cost us points against Brighton. He did cost us points in other games earlier on the season. And, if you want to play this game, you count them up. Probably be maybe a small bit higher. So I do take what you're saying, in terms of since the performances have dropped off, he has kept us in games and helped us earn some points in that regard. And if he didn't, maybe we would be lower down the table for sure.
Has anyone else noticed that Frank's saying stuff and we're not seeing it on the pitch? Like he's saying, oh, we're going to go and implement, we're going to do this, we're going to do that. And we're not seeing it. We're seeing like the complete opposite. So that makes me think either the players don't understand the instructions he's given them or or they're not buying into
Okay.
it. It's one
Or
or the
they're not
other.
They're
good
not.
enough.
Well,
Or
Ray,
they're
it's
not
clear
good
they're
enough.
not buying
It is an
into it.
option.
It's clear.
It is an
They're not
option.
buying into it. It's clear from that. Right, Stefan, I've got a question for you. I heard what you were saying earlier. So, do you think Frank's put the chains on the players then? If they're not going forward, do you think Frank's actually put the chains on those players to stop them going forward?
Yeah, I think it is
Yeah.
by design because you can tell that in certain games we've been playing in, there's no one they've got to pass to. So it's an instruction just to contain the first 20
Agreed.
minutes. I was watching it. So I was watching the derby and I thought, okay, I was sat next to my dad and I said, the first thing we've got to do is contain this Arsenal side because they always come out flying out the blocks. So I thought, fair enough. And then after that 20-minute period, naturally, you grow into the game. You get a few breaks. You might get a few set pieces.
We didn't.
Like, we're not asking for much here. Like, come on, we're begging for like a corner or a throw-in at the very least. There was a really damaging stat that I read earlier, and it was something like Eze had 6 touches in the opposition box. We had 4 touches in their box. One player,
The whole game.
yeah, one player had more touches
Yeah.
in our box than we had in theirs, and that's just ridiculous.
Yeah.
That's almost as bad as the other stats about not having any shots on target.
Also, yeah.
And this is patterns. You know, this isn't a one-off. So people are saying we're being reactionary, but on top
We're
of
not.
this,
But
emotions.
also, right now, the first 5 games under Frank, we were high pressing, right? All of a
Yeah.
sudden, we're not. So is
Where's
that
that
because
gone?
of Frank, or is that the players?
It can't be a
Because-
fitness issue. It can't be a fitness issue, can it?
No,
And it
of
can't be an
course it's not.
understanding. It can't be that they don't understand instruction if they understood the instructions in those games. But now what? They've all of a sudden gone la la la
Exactly.
la la. I don't want to hear it. No, man, that's not how it works. They're
So
grown
the
men.
body
nothing to do with the
language
They're
quality
not
of the players, then, is
silly.
it?
The body
They're not
language of the players
stupid.
doesn't look good either. So were they enjoying it? If you sat down with them one-on-one, would they really be enjoying playing like this? The players that we brought to
So-
this club, they are quality players. Because you can't tell me that no one would take a Xavi Simons. When we were linked with Xavi Simons, people were laughing at us. They were like, you think you're getting Xavi Simons? And then we ended up getting him. And now people are saying, we haven't got the players. We haven't got the players. We haven't got the players.
Stefan, the thing is, right, how I look at it, yeah, I've been sitting back listening saying, well, we haven't got the quality players. But we had those quality players in the first 5 games who were pressing. So what's changed in those 5 after those 5 games?
Exactly.
No, I don't think that's true. I don't think we had the players then. I don't think we have the players now.
We
I
do
think
have
the-
the players.
I think
We've
the
got the
problem-
players.
I think the
So
problem
what about
have.
the City game? What about the City game?
Yeah,
we
we
played
beat
well
Man
in the
City.
City
The
game.
problem-
How can you say that? It's not true.
Against
That's
Burnley.
Our squad is paper thin.
Let's
And so
we got to
what you
separate
get-
2 things
and
here.
so what
We
you
haven't
get-
got the players to
What
win
you
the
get is a
league.
good performance here, a crap performance here. A good performance here, a crap performance there.
Right,
And you
but
know what?
We haven't
Just
If Frank-
not
we haven't
talking
got
over
the-
each other too much.
we haven't got the
Yeah.
players to win the league, but we've got players to be better than what we're showing, and that's where the frustration
Exactly,
is.
agreed,
We're not
100%.
We're setting records, for God's sake. 2 records in the span of 4 weeks.
and you're
Prem
It's
telling
the
me
records.
easiest game. The easiest
Come
games
on
that
now.
have all year. Chelsea, when they played us, the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, that's the easiest away game they ever have. That's the easiest home game Arsenal have. And they could get sides in League 2 or whatever in the FA Cup in January, and they're giving a tougher game than what we did. And that's the damaging thing.
Can I just
Okay.
say, it's not even
Can
just the
I-
big teams. What about Wolves? We were horrendous
Bournemouth.
against Wolves. They didn't even have any points up until then, I don't think. And they've won, got a game against
Yeah,
us.
exactly.
In the game, sorry. And they got it against us, man. Come on, Wolves. You're telling me Wolves. We couldn't beat them.
Wolves
And
have
we've
beaten
got
us.
a
Wolves have
free
beaten us
pass to
5
this
out of 7
manager.
times the last 4 years.
A
though, to be
free
fair. I
pass
don't
to
know
this
what it
guy
is.
who can't even get us past the halfway line. Come on.
Wolves are a new
People
Sorry,
are paying
can
to
I-
watch this.
Can I
think
ask you all a
Bournemouth at
question,
home.
first of all? Can I ask you all a question? Hold on. I'm just going to ask you all a question. Something Rain said, something that made sense, all right? Rain said it's also the owner's fault, right? There's one thing I wanted to ask all of you. Is there not a bit of fear in Frank for not losing games? Because what we did last season was the manager that got us a trophy after 17 years, we sacked because of too many losses and where we end up in the league. When we said this is going to backfire on us for what we've done, is that not what we're seeing right now? And it's what Frank is like pretty much having fear and just go, I can't lose games because if that happens, I'm out of here.
Yeah, but
So is
Jerome,
that not because no wait, hold on. But is it not like you can sense there's fear in Frank to be I'm here, they sacked the guy that got them a trophy, they sacked him, say too many game losses, you're out of here. Is that not going to be the same thing with me? I have not won anything. I'm here in this big club. My only thing is I can't lose at any cost. So is that something that the club has now installed in that manager that's supposed to be a real tactician and just went, I can't lose. I don't care
I
what
don't think
happens.
I don't think
I just
that's the case.
I think
that's
you're
the
right.
case, Jerome.
I think you're right, and I think it's in the whole club. I don't think it's just Frank. I think it's the whole club. I think the whole club is scared,
Yeah.
and they're absolutely terrified. That's why people are Frank out, is because people are scared that if it doesn't change now, something worse is going to happen. People are scared. They're not looking forward with any kind of hope. I think you're absolutely right. I think the whole club needs a positivity reset.
I agree with that, Rain. But we have to see hope on the football pitch. In terms of what we're watching in front of our eyes. And I did ask earlier on in the show, can anyone point to any positive data that they can give me that gives me hope behind Frank? And not one person has brought to me anything.
David, you took the words right out of my mouth.
Whoa. I listed a whole load of things. I literally listed a whole load of things.
You didn't list any stats that were pointing to
stats.
anything.
What stats can you
Well, I can list out so many attacking stats that.
Well, okay,
I'm not being funny. I'm not being funny, but these things are stuff I highlighted weeks ago that you said I was talking absolute crap about. You didn't believe. I've
never said you're talking crap about anything. I don't.
Going forward, you have said it. I brought it up the other day. You came into the show and you put in a comment saying, "I'm out of here. I'm not listening to that narrative." So
I'll tell you what. Why don't you go
exactly
and find
true.
that? Why don't you go and find that and see the words that I used?
I will. I'll do that. I'll do that.
Not the words that you're using. I actually think that the stat that you came out with, which was the lack of through balls and forward passes, is really, really stark. And I think it's really, really, really. It kind of tells the story. Because who have we got to pass those balls forwards to? Who have we got to make those through balls to?
But we're not even doing them. We're not even doing that. That's the problem. We're not doing that.
No, but the reason why we can't do it is because it bounces off of Richarlison.
Let's not. It doesn't matter, Ryan. The thing is, you cross the ball to give it to your attacking players, so that even it doesn't matter how bad Richarlison is. 1 out of 10, he will have like a good ball and score it. Okay, it will happen. It doesn't matter. But the thing is, we're not even doing the basic. Against Arsenal, we did not. Against Chelsea, we didn't cross the ball. We didn't do anything. We didn't even look at our attacking players. We didn't even try anything. This is the issue everybody keeps telling you, Ryan, as well. This is the issue we're having right now. The issue is we're not creating anything. We keep saying he's looking at the defense, he's looking at our defense first, but we're getting wide open every time. If it's not for Vicario, then it's like if it's Ryan.
No, we're not.
You want proof? You want proof? Bournemouth, Vicario saved us from embarrassment. Bordeaux Glimt, Vicario saved us from embarrassment. Monaco, Vicario saved us from embarrassment.
Chelsea.
Mm-hmm. What else? Chelsea. He saved us from embarrassment. What else do you want? Arsenal. Even Arsenal. He made a couple of really good saves to save us from embarrassment.
Been 5 or 6 down.
Where are you saying that the defense is now good? Huh? Where is it?
I want to tell you this, right? If you take out the game against Arsenal, right? We have only ever conceded 1 goal in every game, if I'm not mistaken, right? In the league, I'm talking about. I'm not talking about in Europe at the moment. In the league, we have conceded only 1 goal.
You know what you sound like? You sound like when Ange we were losing all those games, and I did it. I said, hey, look, we're only losing by 1 goal every single game after 22 games. That's exactly what you sound like. Look, if you look at the XG against, it doesn't lie. We've been giving up a ton of chances. We're just playing against teams who could not put them away. And just to go back about through balls, look, when Bentancur is parked next, he's our 8. He's parked next to the center backs. When Xavi was running with the ball, looking right, looking left, there is nobody around him. That's tactics. Last night, back 5, Spence and Udogie was told not to go forward. So how can we make a through pass? How can we just the gap between Bentancur and Simmons is huge. There is nobody in the midfield. Both Paulinho and Bentancur are parked by center backs. So how can we make a through pass? How can we play like under Conte?
How can you put the ball through to Richardson?
You can tell. Okay, the wings go up, but now we're not even playing on the counter. We're sitting there, absorbing pressure, and that's it. There's no outlet.
We just have some pressure.
And there's no outlet because we're not positioned in a way. There's no outlets. Bentancur is by the center backs. Simmons is alone.
Okay, well then I'll ask you and Jerome more this question then, because we've got a midfield that doesn't pass it forward. We don't have a progressive progressive midfield that cannot pass the ball forward. They pass it side to side, backwards. So that's what I'm saying about we haven't got the players, right? Because you take out Xavi Simmons, right? He would be further up in that camp, right? If he had other better players apart from Paulinho, right? If he had someone like, I don't know, for example, this isn't me saying we're going to get anyone, right? But like a Gavin, right, in that midfield, right? And we had someone else in that midfield. Simmons would then be in that cam position, and someone like Gavin could then go and put a through ball through, and then we have all the different options. But then what we don't have is a decent striker to put them away. So we need to get a new striker, and we need to get rid of Brennan Johnson, and we need to get a new left winger and a new right wing, a right winger and a new striker. And I would take Tony in January on loan.
Rhino, I agree with you. And again, I do not rate Bentancur whatsoever. I think it was a huge mistake as giving a new deal. However, if I would see Bentancur trying to at least him being in position higher up the field and fail and not able to make a pass, I would say yes, Frank is setting him up in a certain way. He's just not able to do it. But his positioning is not even close. So that's not on him, that's on Frank. So again, as I said before, if I see players set up in a certain way and they fail, that's on the players. But they're not even being set up in a certain way. Yes, Bentancur is not good enough. At least give
but the only issue is yesterday's game, who was higher up? Paulinho or Bentancur? It was Paulinho. Our number 6 was the one who was higher up as Bentancur. Exactly. I'm like, for the goal for Richarlison, it was Paulinho who made that tackle. He was higher than anybody else to actually do something in this game. He was the only one actually in this team that was going like higher than anyone. Bentancur, I don't know what happened to him. He just stayed back.
And Jerome, even if the midfield is not good enough, it's fine. But at least push the fullbacks up.
Is being told. Bentancur, so on the one hand, the narrative is that Bentancur is being told and instructed as our 8 not to go forward. And on the other hand, we can see with our eyes that our 6, Paulinho, is taking it upon himself to go forwards and try to get into those. Maybe it's not Frank. Maybe it's that Bentancur is playing it safe.
See, this is where I disagree with you, Rain.
But that's the thing. It's like every time there's a player that takes on themselves to do something. If it's not Paulinho, it would be Romero.
No, but this is where people make their own narratives and don't listen to the manager. Frank was asked about playing Bergvall in there months ago. He said the reason why I can't play Bergvall in there is because he keeps vacating the position, which therein tells you he doesn't want them players vacating that position. It's not rocket science. It's coming from Frank's mouth himself.
Exactly.
So to say that it's Bentancur and not instruction goes against what the reason why Thomas Frank won't play.
But it's all instruction.
Paulinho is doing.
And the reason it's instruction because if they don't do what the manager says, then they won't play for him. So they've got to do what he says.
Is doing it. But Palhinha is doing it. So there's a fundamental problem that you guys are saying this is happening, and I would say it's conjecture. Whereas what we're actually seeing is a player is actually doing it and is still being.
Well, Bentancur done it under Conte.
I think the problem
about 11 players.
Bentancur done it.
Players are doing it.
Bentancur done it under Conte when he was given the license to get forward.
Richarlison probably got fined for scoring that goal. He probably got fined because he shot.
Maybe he did. I think the problem with Bergvall is that he's ill-disciplined, and he does make mistakes. Let's be clear, Bergvall makes mistakes. He's young, so that's and yes, he runs around a lot, but he's also finds himself out of position. Whereas Palhinha has the ability and the know-how to get both forwards and to come back and cover his position.
Well, he didn't do that yesterday.
So can I just say something? This is why I say if you take out the players that we've loaned, right, and the player and Xavi, yeah, right. If you look at it realistically, then this is what I'm saying about the quality. We haven't got the quality at the back.
Win the league, we haven't.
In midfield, what I'm saying is in midfield and up front, we haven't got that quality. We haven't. Johnson is living off his father's name, and that's the only reason why he's in football.
He hasn't played this season.
Why don't you mention Kudus that we spent big money on? Why don't you mention Xavi Simons that we spent big money on? Why do you consistently go to the worst players?
Because they're the ones that are giving us the problems at the moment, Dave.
No,
Johnson hasn't played, Rhino. He hasn't played at all.
On the bench the other day, and this is the problem. That's trying to form a narrative to suit what you want to get across. The reality is, none of them are producing. We brought in 3 players. But Mawani, I'm not going to die on that hill. He hasn't really been given enough time, injuries and all, like Rain said. But the other 2 players, and to Jerome's point earlier on, we went in the market to try and address that problem for Thomas Frank. And when you're bringing in players, and there are 3 players, by the way, that fans were wanking themselves off to, no one had an issue. Even when we signed Xavi Simons, how many people were sitting there going, we don't need Eze. Simons is the guy. He's better, this, that, and the other. Now, look, part of that could have been copium because we don't like getting rejected by people. Fully understand that. But the reality is now everyone's pivoting to their shit players. But no one was saying that when we signed these guys. And that's where I think, in order to be fair, Ryan, I do think, we can't just pick out Johnson and Richarlison, when he has been given other players, to play and perform. And the reality is he's not getting anything out of any of them. If there was 1 player or 2 players shining above the rest, like Kane and Son used to do and other players in years gone by, I'd say, okay, fair enough. It's purely down to the quality. But when no one is producing, at what point then do you look beyond the quality? Well, maybe it is tactical, maybe it isn't.
Exactly.
But then, Dave, can I just come back to you on that then? Because, right, was I or was I not? And you can say if I'm telling the truth here or not. Was I or was I not saying the same thing about Johnson last season? Yes or no? That he's absolutely garbage.
No one thinks he's a great player, but he's better than what he's showing.
I'm just putting it out there because Dave's saying that now I'm trying to spin a narrative. Well, okay.
No,
Dave,
I just think when you speak about the forward line, sit there and say Simons is crap. You think Kudus is crap. The reality is what I'm trying to say, and Tyler's doing it in the comments as well, saying I'm trying to suit a narrative. I'm being fair. I know that Richarlison isn't great. I know that Johnson isn't great. But my point is, if there was a couple of players performing and scoring and assisting way above the others, I take that point. But when there's no one performing, at what point do you look at the system? That's not me forming a narrative. That's just me trying to be logical and trying to be fair.
And let's be fair, right? Let's be fair.
I'll take what you said, Dave. Yeah, right. Where you think I'm spinning a narrative, I don't mind. I'll take that on the chin and I'll run with that, mate. I don't mind because at the end of the day, I know I said last year that Johnson was absolutely garbage.
Ryan, maybe so. Right, maybe so, but you got to look at it the other way, yeah. If you're pointing out just Johnson, yeah, but you've got to look at the bigger picture. If say Vicario's playing shit, or Porro, or Van der Ven, or Romero, you've got to point the fingers at them too. You can't just point it at Johnson because that's spinning the narrative just towards Johnson, and that you've got to look at the whole team.
Yeah,
because if one player's not performing, the whole team is not.
And the ironic
Yeah, but
thing
that's
is,
what
you
I'm
picked on a
saying.
player who
I'm not
scored like
spinning any
19
narrative.
goals.
Yeah, but I'm not spinning any narrative though, because I've said that whole of that midfield. Yeah, right. If you go back 5 minutes, I said the whole of that midfield needs more quality.
Yeah, but you're pointing out Johnson only, but you've got to look at it like Xavi Simons hasn't been playing well. Kudos, he's fallen off the cliff because he's probably been overworked. You've got Van der Ven, who's got good games in him and bad games. Romero's exactly the same. So you've got to look at it in a bigger picture. You can't just spin it as like Johnson's this, Johnson's that, because at the end of the day, he's getting probably about 10 minutes if you're lucky as a sub.
The thing is, we've got
If
massive
you haven't got license to go forward,
your centre back is your top scorer, and your defensive centre midfielder is your second top scorer.
that tells you everything.
Don't forget good old
tells
OG.
you everything.
Don't forget good old OG. We love OG.
And OG.
We didn't bring him on yesterday. We should have.
We could have
Got
done
that
with
wrong.
him.
But like, I don't understand like why people do not get it. If players are in position to score or to make the pass and they don't do it, that's a quality issue. But if the players are not even in position to shoot, to score, to make the pass, that's not quality. That's the tactics. It's
And
that simple.
also,
Under
it's the
previous managers, if our striker gets 7 chances and scores 1, like Richarlison would do, we can say, yep, he's not good enough. But if our strikers get 1 chance a game, if they're lucky, if our midfielders are not even in position to make a pass, if our wingbacks are not even in position to make those runs, how can we say it's a quality issue? We have we know from our past experience that yes, the players are not good enough. But looking at this season in isolation, the players are not in position to
If
even
you're creating 0.03
make
XG,
mistakes.
it's hard
Exactly,
to blame.
yeah.
You know,
It's
the
like
strikers.
so
and the
in that
thing.
Like, can I just
Sorry.
give a
Can
hypothetical?
I
Like,
just can I just
Mia
speak,
wants
please? Because I haven't spoken for such a long time. Honestly, what I would say as well, isn't it the manager's job to get the best out of the players? And I'm not being
Exactly.
funny, but when we've got, I know that he's not the greatest player, but Ange made the best of Johnson and got him to be our top goal scorer. I'm
Yeah.
not saying that Frank should do the same with him, but I'm just saying with other players, that's what he gets paid the big bucks for, man.
Yeah.
He gets paid the big bucks to sort out and get the best out of all of the
Agreed.
players.
Yeah, you've got front players. So you look at the profile of the player. You go, okay, what are you good at? What are you good at? What are you good at? Johnson, we know what he's good at. That is a quality, whether people like it or not. That is a quality he has. He gets to the back post and he scores us a lot of goals. So you got to use him that way. Kudos. What is he good at?
Utilise
He's good at taking his man on in the final third. All right, let's get him in a position where he can take his man on in the final third. Okay, what is Richarlison good at? He's good in the box. He can score goals. He's shown that under previous managers. So we got to use these players to what they're good at. And at the moment, if we can't get them beyond the fucking halfway line, they're never going to be able to show it.
Exactly. Agreed, 100%. See, you've got to utilise the players that we have and use what qualities they've got. At the moment, Frank isn't utilising those players the way he should be utilising them. You know Johnson's going to go on the back post. He's going to score goals. You know Richarlison's going to score headers. You know that Kudos is going to put a decent cross in. Same with Xavi Simons. But the problem is, as Stefan said, if they can't pass the cross halfway line, what are those 4 players going to do? They have to track back to get the ball. And which is what then the attack breaks down.
And they're not enjoying it, and you know which way it's going, because I guarantee
Exactly.
you, I can even start to put a bet on it that, you know, when this manager is going to go, because it's just heading that way. The parallels, like I said earlier, with Nuno, they are so similar. If you look at like Nuno's reign, and let's be honest, he's probably a better manager than Frank as well. Whisper it quietly. It's heading that way.
Agreed.
Rain Man, yeah.
We were doing exactly what you were saying with all of those players. The problem
No, we weren't. When?
Do you know what? I didn't interrupt you, mate. Right? I didn't interrupt you once. We were doing all of those things that you were saying with Kudos. Beat his man. Do you know what other teams did? They triple marked Kudos because there was nobody else, and all of a sudden we couldn't attack because everything was going through Kudos. Cross the ball to Richarlison. We tried that, but then it's only Richarlison in the box because because Kudos is crossing the ball in, or even Johnson is crossing the ball in. these days. You don't know. But the other attackers aren't busting a nut to actually get in the box, right? That's not on Frank. That's take personal responsibility to go and join Richarlison.
Disagree.
So Richarlison, personal responsibility, mate, right? It's not. This is not Football Manager. This is not Frank goes, you go here whilst they're playing. They are on the pitch. They are grown men. They take personal responsibility for what they deliver. And no one is busting a gut to get into the box to help support Richarlison. So he's got 2 or 3 centre-backs around him. So what we need are better players who actually get on with it. Back to the Bentancur problem. What we really needed was Morgan Gibbs-White.
Look, yeah, sorry. Go on, Ryan.
Yeah, no, I agree. Like we needed someone like a Morgan Gibbs-White. Yeah, would he get into? This is the question we have to ask though, Dave. Right, and I'm not criticising Morgan Gibbs-White in any way, shape, or form. Would he get into a top 4 team? Probably not. Would he get into a top 5 team? Definitely, yes. Now, I agree. This is where I'm agreeing with Rain here, though, Dave. Right, he would be not the final piece of the jigsaw, but he's another piece of that jigsaw that would get us up that field. But because we haven't, I'm not saying he should start every game, because I think Xavi Simons, once he's settled in properly, and because anyone knows that a foreign player that has come from a different league, I'm not saying he's not physically ready. I'm saying he has got to adapt, and not just to the language. I mean, his English is good enough as it is, because as good as it can be, but he needs to adapt to the climate and he needs to adapt to his surroundings. But once he has done that nicely and he's settled in, we will see the best out of him. Sorry, Dave. Now you can say what you was going to say, mate.
Oh, look, I take your point. I take your point, but I think what I'm saying is, yeah, there's holes in the squad. Yes, there are just some quality issues, but for me, from the very beginning, I sort of questioned Thomas, the appointment of Thomas Frank. I aired some of my concerns around it. I said I'm not staunch against him. I'm going to give him time to try and, answer some of my questions. And I just don't think he's done that. And I think what we're seeing is to be honest with you, I think it's gone very similar to the way the Nuno thing went. Nuno came in, won 3 games back to back, bet some big teams, kept some clean sheets, similar to when Frank came in. But then after that, results slid off. He wasn't getting anything out of Son, not getting anything out of Kane, ended up getting sacked. And to be honest with you, I'm sort of seeing a lot of similarities. We're sitting so far deep. You're almost asking players to make 80-yard bursts just to get into the box and stuff like that. And then a lot of times when we do have possession, a lot of players are filling in around the edge of the box. And for me, I do think that comes from instruction. I think Frank has them around there. So when the ball is knocked back out, they can try and pick it up and keep the pressure on and keep them sort of penned in and put it back in. And I'm just saying, yes, we have problems at Tottenham, but I just don't believe Frank is the right guy to really take us on. Like, we can sit here and say, give him a better striker. What good is it if we can't get him into the box and put a ball in the box for him to be able to get on the end of it?
Who's going to want to play? Who's going to want to play under those tactics? We might get some forward players that might be completely put off of the way we're playing, because you can tell that Simmons and Kudos aren't enjoying it at the moment. The body language of Xavi is really worrying, because he looks as if he's looking around thinking, oh my God, what have I walked into here? I wasn't promised this when I come to Tottenham. That is a bit of a worry in itself.
See, I blame Enoch. And this is where my deflection. This is where my defection for Frank comes involved. Now, everyone stop talking about Frank. It's actually Enoch. So
no, look, I take your point.
Stop us from winning the league. They're not stopping us from getting in the top 5, because we've done that over the last 20 odd years. So you can't blame them for that.
Enoch ain't training the players.
I understand where Ryan and Rain do sort of come from on that the lack of good quality transfer windows is part of the reason why we are where we're at, to a certain degree. But it's also on the manager. No other manager like Jose or Conte, they've been given worse transfer windows and been told to get on with it. So I don't understand why Frank doesn't sort of operate off the same remit. But look,
best transfer window under their legacy, people called it.
Look, Enoch and stuff like that, that's a conversation for another day. At the end of the day, I'm not fully behind the Lewis family. I'll wait to see what they do January. We need massive help January. I understand it's a tough window. If they can pull a rabbit out of the hat and really help us, then fair enough. I'll give them time. If they don't, well, then they're just continuing on years gone by. And I think Ray needs to get back out there and back down protesting and stuff like that to fully get them out. But look, guys, go on, Ray. We'll let you have a say.
Yeah, we'll take some final statements from everybody, and then we'll get on out of here.
Let's be clear, Dave. Those bad transfer windows that those managers had to deal with, those weren't all right either. That just because
and you've been consistent,
no. But like all of us would have said it at the time. Just because we've had those, just because they had to deal with those bad things back in the past, doesn't mean that Frank should have to deal with it now. No. The way to fix it is to stop having rubbish transfer windows. I think the summer was a good step, but we just need about 7 more of them. That's the problem.
No, I get what you're saying.
Agree.
I think where me and you probably differ, Ian, is I think you give Frank more. I don't necessarily think you're going to see, because in fairness, he's got a lot out of João Palhinha. Fantastic player. Kudos, Simmons, and the few games that Mawani has played. I've seen these guys operate at a bigger and better level, at other clubs and stuff like that. And that's where I question, even if you do give him these extra players, is he still going to employ them scared tactics? Are we still going to be crap out in possession? Are we still going to drop back off possession? But look, there are conversations we'll have on another day, because I am conscious I do need to fly down to the shop before it closes, and I do need to have dinner with the missus before she heads to bed, before she gets up early for work.
But yeah, we'll take maybe just go around the horn quickly, and then we'll get on out of here. Ryan, final statement from you?
Yeah, look, right. It's going to probably be the same as what I say every week, but I'm going to keep reverberating it. He hasn't had the time. We need to give him the time. He needs to be backed, and we can't keep sacking managers left, right, and centre, because if we keep sacking managers left, right, and centre, we're just going around and around and around in circles. I love Frank. Let's keep this Frank engine going, and let's just hope that the Lewis family can do something, but I don't think they will. Simple as.
I'll go to Mia next. Mia?
I'm not Frank out. I'm Frank do better, because I feel like otherwise it's only going to go downhill from there with him, because I don't think that people will tolerate it. I think patience is going to wear very thin if we carry on playing the way we're playing. So yeah, Frank needs to do better. I don't want him out, but I think he needs to do better.
Frank needs improvement. Report card. Rain Man, to you next.
It really doesn't. I don't get the Frank in, Frank out thing. I don't get it. I don't think it's important. I don't think it's relevant. I think people think that there's a magic manager wand that can wave away all the world's ills. I'm very, very clear. The squad's not good enough. We need multiple transfer windows like the summer, where we buy better players and we keep layering them on, and we need to stop buying young, promising players. And thinking that they're going to come into the first team and develop and give us good performances. That's where we are. We're going to keep on getting these types of performances, and people are going to keep on being upset.
Okay. Chris?
I'm not Frank in or Frank out, yeah? I'm at Frank at the train station at the moment on the red light waiting to see what happens in January. Okay, let's be honest, yeah. From now, I don't want to see any more spineless performances like what we've seen in the last few weeks. We need to improve, and improve quick time. That's me
Frank
done.
on the platform. That's where you are. Frank on the platform. Stefan?
Well, my patience is wearing very thin. I think Frank will be gone anyway. That's a prediction. The only reason I wouldn't get a shot of him right now is because there's no one obvious. If there was an obvious candidate that we should definitely go for, then I would get rid of Frank tomorrow. Because as I've been consistent, as much as everyone else on this panel has with their views, pragmatic managers do not work at Spurs. They never have. They never will. Ever.
Okay. Well, everybody, thanks for making it actually a very entertaining fan show. And honestly, you guys have done a pretty good job of just carrying the whole thing, really. And I felt like we didn't need to step in that often, really. So fair play to you guys. And of course, we'll be back next week. If anybody was jealous that wants to take part in the action, feel free to next week. But we have PSG and then Fulham, two very different opponents to come up against, and of course more to learn about Tottenham Hotspur. But we'll see you next time, everybody. Come on, you Spurs.
Come on,
Come on,
you
Come on, you
Spurs.
Spurs.
Franken.